Holy cow! Welcome to Donnie's Hangout Adventures. And yesterday, heard the passing of Kevin Sullivan, one of the bright wrestling minds in the business. Kevin Sullivan is one of those wrestlers from WCW, and there's a lot of them. They're employed by WWE at any point or any time. So, he was one of the brightest wrestling minds. And I guess he was having complications from a major accident he had, and so he ended up dying from that. And so when I was thinking about this video yesterday, and because of the living situation that we are in, I got time to think on how I'm going to do this video, because I even did on a post on Facebook about this yesterday. This is one of the controversial topics, because when they think of Kevin Sullivan, there's some things that come up, but there's one thing that really comes up a lot. Now, I'm not going to delve into his whole career, but aspects that are remembered and some that are not remembered as much. Now, of course, we all remember when he backed himself into a corner in 96, 97, somewhere around that time frame in WCW, where he did a storyline where his then wife Nancy was cheating on him and having an affair and all that, and it was the feud for a whole freaking year they did this. But ironically, that became reality because Nancy and Chris Benoit ended up having an actual relationship and ended up actually getting married. So there was all that. I almost don't want to talk about what happened. I almost don't want to talk about. I will say it. The Chris Benoit double murder suicide. Now, there is a huge part of the community is on board with this conspiracy theory that Sullivan hashed out this plan where he ended up murdering Chris Benoit and his wife, and it is one of the dumbest conspiracy theories. It's up there with we didn't even land on the moon. It's one of the dumbest conspiracy theories. I never bought into it. Never have. I have a few friends that bought into it. I've never bought into the fact. You see, the reason I don't buy into it is because of this. Steroids. Listen, the conspiracy theories don't tend to read up on steroids. Let's be honest, they don't read up on it. They don't read up on the classic case of Lyle Zato. And if you look at the side effects of steroids, there's depression, there's mood changes. Really, that affected Benoit. Sullivan had nothing to do with the Chris Benoit murder-suicide. It was all Chris Benoit. Sullivan had nothing to do with it whatsoever. There's a lot of large contingency people that buy into this conspiracy theory. I am not one of them. I am not one of them. Now, I have to move on from that because I could delve into that topic all I want. And I think it's pretty much simple. It's a simple thing. But people want to make something bigger than it actually is because of what happened in WCW with that storyline. And they did to try to, make something more out of something that it really is nothing. This conspiracy theory needs to stop. I know it won't. They will continue going on with the conspiracy theory. Now, parts of his career are forgotten. Like in the he was in WCW in the 80s with the Varsity Club. And the Varsity Club is a very underrated faction that doesn't get discussed much. There was at least 2 stars that happened out of the Varsity Club. You had Mike Rotunda, who went on to become IRS, and this is before the Steiners actually were a tag team, and Rick Steiner, who was early in his career as a heel, a very good heel, and so the Varsity Club doesn't get discussed hardly at all because it's a very underrated faction. Sure, it's not on the Four Horsemen or NWO or DX level, but is it underrated faction? Another underrated, actually it's not underrated, it's a forgotten part of his career. 93 and 94, before I get back to WCW, 95 or 94 or whatever, it's forgotten. Sullivan was an ECW. Yeah, it's actually forgotten. ECW, him and Taz, which is one of the most random, oddest pairings of a tag team in history. Think of that, Sullivan and Taz. It was an odd pairing, and they were a couple-time tag team champions. So his time in ECW, short-lived, a little bit over a year, but it is completely forgotten. And the one thing I haven't mentioned, with everything I've mentioned on controversy and stuff that's forgotten, the one thing I haven't mentioned was, oh my God, you can't do a video without mentioning his booking style and what he tried to do with the DOD, the Dungeon of Doom. Oh my God, you can't do any video talking about WCW, you can't do any video talking about Sullivan with the campiness of the Dungeon of Doom. They tried, unsuccessfully, they tried to repeat what WWF did in the 80s. And so they had Hogan face the same people he beat 10 years prior. Earthquake, Kamala, you had One Man Gang, you had the Big Boss Man, this Big Bubba Rogers, and you had some of these other stupid ones like Loch Ness and Yeti, and then you had Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake, the main event of the Starcade, anyway. And of course, the only good thing that came out of the Dungeon of Doom was Giant. That's the only good thing that came out of it. This storyline went on for over a year, and it is some of the most campiest, stupidest TV and wrestling history. So you can't go past the Dungeon of Doom. I seriously wanted to, but you can't. Now Sullivan, I think Sullivan was also one of the most underrated talents in wrestling history. I put him up there with somebody like William Regal. You could say, hey, we need to get a good 10-minute match, 15-minute match, whatever it may be. Sullivan could do it. He's very underrated. He didn't hold many championships in his career. I don't think he needed it. He was one of those characters that's underlooked, how sadistic and dark he was. It was something like a Bray Wyatt or even an Undertaker, something like that they don't tend to talk about his work, his character work. He wasn't one of the best on the mic, but he could, he could get by. And you know what? Rest in peace to Kevin Sullivan. Now, I'm going to say this one last time, unlike Chris Benoit, who's in hell, Sullivan is in heaven. He didn't murder Benoit and Nancy and all that. So the conspiracy theories, let it rest. Let it die. Please, let it die. So condolences to the family and friends of Kevin Sullivan. And rest in peace to one of the great, brilliant minds of wrestling. Me and Mom are saying that's all for now.
That's all for now.